Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Join me today. We're going to discuss 10 food items that I recommend you all stock up on in anticipation for the election and the ensuing onslaught and aftermath that I think is probably going to accompany it. So the first couple of things I want to start off with are those things that maybe you are familiar with. And the reason why I'm doing this video is I know sometimes we get used to our own food groups and we get kind of stagnant in the way that we think, and it's always good to try and mix things up a little bit. So the first thing, rice. It would help you if I actually put it up right, wouldn't it? So I like jasmine rice. There are different types of rice. Brown rice is the favorite of a lot of health food gurus, but the calculus that I use in weighing which type of rice is as follows. Number one, jasmine rice is very energy efficient to cook. And having seen, when I was in Thailand and Cambodia, having seen just people in the field bring a pot of rice to a boil and then take it off and then using the residual heat to essentially cook itself. Jasmine rice is very energy efficient to use. Also, when you are checking your bags of jasmine rice, you definitely want to check your country of origin, because in Thailand, at least the last time that I checked, it's not permissible for genetically modified rice to be grown. So if you're trying to steer clear from GMO rice, that would be a good bet. The next point here, lentils. I'm actually going to show you in a little bit because I had some requests. I'm going to show you what one of my meals looks like using like some of these prepper items that I'm going to show you here. So lentils, you're talking about 98 cents a pound for these. And lentils, as far as the legumes, are very energy efficient to cook. And a lot of beans, even if you soak them overnight, they still take a long time to cook. And lentils are pretty straightforward and easy to cook. They're also very high in protein. Get into the habit, friends, of looking at the back of the nutrition label here and checking to see how many calories are in each serving, how big the serving size is, the protein, etc. That's something that you want to consider. And lentils are a very good source of protein. And this guy right here, like one bag, you can feed a lot of servings, a lot of people, a lot of servings with that. Okay. Now the meal that I made tonight is my lentil stew, my cooked lentils, and I actually use lentils and spaghetti sauce. Now you can of course make your own, but I don't think you're going to come ahead price-wise as far as what you can get, especially if you go to the grocery outlet. This is the Newman's Own Common Good organic sauce. Normally this is about $5.99 a jar, but I actually got it at the grocery outlet for, I want to say like $2.99, maybe like $1.99. But this series of spaghetti sauces is my favorite, and I use this to cook everything from Mexican rice to soups to stews to actually what I'm going to show you right now. And so what I do is I'll take half of this bag, so half a pound of the lentils, and then one jar of this guy right here, and then you can just dump the jar in, and then you fill it up with either water or whatever broth that you have, and then add a bunch of vegetables to it, and then various different spices. So I'm really going to try and not dump my dinner out in front of everybody here. Hopefully this will look appetizing. It's moving, so I hope it doesn't look like Klingon food. But yeah, essentially I put frozen kale in there as well, and carrots and frozen peppers. You can save a lot of money by shopping at grocery outlets, and I do use frozen foods to supplement my stores. And so this is an amazing meal. I love it. I actually eat it probably 2 or 3 nights a week. It's really good. So the next portion that I want to cover with you is the canned foods. Now, obviously, you can get longer shelf life when you go into things like freeze-dried food and dehydrated foods, but there is a barrier to limitation and cost for people who don't own a dehydrator or a freeze dryer. And so if you can, it's good to stock up on the canned vegetables and canned fruits also, just because, you know, that way you've got something prepared at hand. For the weight, it would not be ideal for a bug out bag. Definitely the freeze dried would be a good move for a bug out bag, but keep in mind too, you're going to have to reconstitute with water and adjust your water usage accordingly. So the number 4 here is canned vegetables. Now the next one is perhaps not what you were thinking. This is apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is useful for flavoring just about everything under the sun, but also is useful for tonic, like a daily health support tonic. There, you use it to make fire cider. There's a lot of useful applications for apple cider vinegar, and I like the raw vinegar with the mother. Bragg's is my favorite, but actually Costco has this version as well, and you can usually find the the good or best buy date is later, and this is till 2023. So a few years from now. The next portion here, so that was number 5. Number 6 here is your milk substitutes, or high temperature milk or powdered milk. So I don't do a lot of dairy for various different reasons. I would much rather do coconut or almond milk, and this is my preferred source here, the unsweetened. I don't like to add sugar into it, but the reason why I have these is because A, they cream your coffee, which we're going to talk about coffee here in a little bit. They can help cream your coffee, they can help make soups and stews, and also, as a matter of fact, if you want to make a nice little treat, you use this instead of water to make coconut rice. Oh yeah, super, super good. So wonderful, so wonderful. That would be a moral boost. That would be what we would call a psychological positive. The next one here I want to cover with you. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6 is coconut oil. Can you tell I've already got into it? Coconut oil. It is important that you store fats. Now, the longest shelf life fats that you're going to get are like the clarified butters, the red feather butter, ghee, but as we've established, I'm not super big, especially during times where you're concerned about respiratory disease. I'm not big on dairy, processed dairy at all, because it tends to produce a lot of mucus in the body. It does. And also it tends to exacerbate, for instance, things like arterial disease and circulatory issues, etc. So I know there's different schools of thought about that, but the healthiest people on the planet eat diets that are very, very rich in plants. And having seen the aftermath of patients who are on diets like Atkins and almost exclusively animal flesh and carbohydrates limited, it's not good. We need carbohydrates. Human civilization was built on carbohydrates, from the Khmer Empire in Cambodia all the way back to the Nile and the Egyptians, and between the Tigris and the Euphrates. Carbohydrates make humanity, so yes, we do need them. And if you're going to store a fat, I would rather you have a fat that tastes good, that's also generally supportive of your health. And coconut oil is relatively shelf stable. There are other options, but this one's good until it's basically 2 years. Fats are going to go rancid when they're kept a long time, so just keep that in mind. So that was number 6. We're on to number 7. Honey. Honey. Ideally, you want to try and get the raw honey that's in your area as best as possible. Local honey is ideal. There are cult followers like Jonestown hardcore of honey, like people who will say if it's not this X type of honey, then it's useless. Provided that it's unadulterated honey, you're good to go. Not only for sweetening, but also for usage in wound care, actually. And we talk about that in my online course. Let me take this opportunity to tell you guys about it. It's 4 hours. It's $129. You get a workbook to download. It's a very structured format, because YouTube is not the format to conduct proper educational interaction. It's good for short quips, but to actually get to a place where a student is deriving benefit, you need a structured way of learning and digesting material, which is what I've offered for you guys, patriotnurseacademy.com. You can see that link in the description box below. So the honey, of course, is very, very critical. But also, let's be real, coffee. Coffee. Now, I know some of y'all are going to hate on my coffee here. Just hear me out. If you want to go through the trouble to get 50 pounds of green coffee beans, and then roast them yourself, you can do that. But I'm here to tell you, I'm not good at that myself. Maybe you are. Maybe that's your skill set. But I've got lots of better things to do with my time. Now, coffee is indeed a heavily pesticided crop. So if you are very concerned about that, then they have instant coffee options that you can purchase, usually online. Vitacost is a good one. But Costco and other places sell large quantities of instant coffee. And the thing that I like about instant coffee is that there doesn't tend to be as much waste as you see associated with making large pots of coffee, because you're talking a heaping teaspoon per serving with this. And it's nice if it's just you or a couple of people, and that way you can be judicious with your usage. Another thing to consider is that it really eliminates the amount, or I should say decreases the number of kitchen appliances that you need, because if you just have your standard electric kettle or whatever type of kettle, you don't need a dedicated coffee pot and all this other stuff. So it's a thing to consider, and it's very important to have to keep you up, to keep you going if you need to, for instance, pull security detail. So those are definitely good things to have. And let's see here, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The last one here, spices. Spices. This is a generic statement, but spices, salt, things that you need in order to add flavor to your beans, your rice. Spices are essential to help prevent food fatigue and monotony, and they are, in many cases, they have medicinal usage as well. So then this is Dash I like because it's free from salt in this particular one, the seasoning blend, and it has garlic, onion, pepper, fennel, basil, bay, marjoram, oregano, savory, thyme, lots of good stuff in here, and it has many different usages. So I prefer the blend spices because it just makes your job a little bit easier. You can make them yourself, but spices are going to be pretty essential for you to have as well. It's not going to do you a lot of good if you've got a whole bunch of beans, a whole bunch of rice, and you have no spices to cook with them. It's kind of misery, really. Now, one thing just additionally to note, hot sauces are a big part of this. Now, if you're a Southern person, okay, I'm going to give you a +1 too. I've got this other little product here that's looking at me. But if you're a Southern person, you know that we have to have our hot sauce, whether it's Texas Pete or Tabasco, shout out to Louisiana, or Frank's Red Hot. We got to have our hot sauce, and we put it on everything from eggs to beans, for sure. Now, the last little thing here, because I'm a Southerner through and through for 12 generations back, Louisiana Tea. Y'all have been asking me about my favorite brand of tea. If they made like a little teddy bear, a Louisiana teddy bear, I probably would want it. But Louisiana is the beverage of the South. And if you want to keep your morale up as a Southerner, you better have plenty of Louisiana stacked deep. Don't be adulterating it with decaf, y'all. Gotta have the real tea. Just a little bit of levity there. I hope that was helpful for y'all. I hope you enjoyed the top 10, or certainly 10, of the recommended foods here to have stored up. I wanted to give you guys a refresher, really, and just kind of a renovated look at things, and just keep your mind going when you're out at the store, and give you some ideas to think about as well. And you know, these are just my little top 10 that I have for right now, and yours may be different. Leave me a comment below. What are your top 10? I want to know what your top 10 food items are, and maybe we can bounce ideas back and forth and see these in the comments. So thank you guys so much. I hope it was helpful for y'all today. If you did enjoy the video, I hope you'll subscribe to me here on YouTube, Patriot Nurse. You can also support me on Patreon, Subscribestar, cryptocurrency, and PayPal. I got links down there in the description box below. Make sure, guys, if you're interested in that class, go ahead and sign up. Don't make excuses. Don't delay. Get your education ball rolling today, because self-care is the new healthcare, ladies and gentlemen. And the last thing that I want to be doing is having to venture out of my house, hoping to try and find some help if I could have prevented something at home in rough times, right? Have a wonderful and very, very blessed weekend, y'all. May the Lord bless and keep each and every one of you. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.